Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody out there in podcast land. You are in tune to another episode of Intrinsic Motivation from a Homie's Perspective. This is Hamza.
And I am David.
And today, folks, I'm so happy to interview our guest. She is a nationally recognized transformational speaker, energy healer, intuitive coach, emotional fitness trainer. Sounds like a person that's right up the alley of intrinsic motivation. And I have to say, in social media, there's all these challenges out there, all these different dances and such. And this guest actually gave me a challenge. She gave me a 10 by 10 challenge. She gave it to David as well. And it's something that we should all do before we even get out of bed. So is this a new dance before we get out of bed? I'm not sure. I'll let our guest tell us more about that. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Cathleen Lamberton to the podcast. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Hamza and David. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, thanks for being with us.
Yes, thanks for making it. And I don't know, before we even started recording, I was saying that it felt like I had already known you. I think that we're going to uncover a lot of synergies between the three of us.
Yeah, I think so too. I felt like I knew you when you reached out to me, so it feels great that we get to officially connect in this lifetime.
Absolutely. And so, was I talking about a dance? Let's already just pull the rabbit out of the hat. This before you get out of bed challenge. That sounds really good to people that are ready to get up and at 'em. But there's some people that can't get out of bed every morning. It's so hard for them to get out of bed. What is a before you get out of bed challenge? What does that entail?
Well, this is a perfect challenge for them as well as those who are ready to get up then. The 10 by 10 challenge, the before you get out of bed challenge, is really a gratitude challenge. And what I encourage people to just try for 10 days, and if it works for them, then they can continue. But for 10 days straight, before they even get out of bed in the morning, they write down 10 things they're grateful for. It takes 2 to 3 minutes. It doesn't take that long at all. You can hold whatever you need to do for 2 to 3 minutes and just really focus on what really is important to them, what they can be grateful for, and it shifts their entire day. It shifts their entire perspective on what they focus on throughout the day.
Really? Now, one thing that I would think of is working out. So there was this meme that happened a couple of years ago on Facebook, and it said, if I didn't post that I worked out, did I really work out? And so I love that meme because it's kind of like you're peaking or you want to be a world-renowned fitness instructor or a bodybuilder after one day. And in this case, I would look at your 10 by 10 challenge as peaking. If I'm giving some gratitude that first day, do I really need to take the 10 days to make it happen?
Oh, interesting. I think it's consistency. I know. Consistency is the key to whatever you do. It's practice. It becomes a daily practice instead of a challenge or another to-do item. I have a daily practice that includes my gratitude 10 by 10 gratitudes every day. And I do it before I even get out of bed in the morning, before I do my meditation, before I do anything else. And it does change your perspective. Most people wake up with, oh, my God, what I got to do today? I've got to get the kids off to school. I got to go to work. I don't want to get up. I don't like my boss. I don't like the traffic is horrible. They start going down this whole litany of things that they don't want to do. And the challenge is really about what are you going to focus on? And I'm wondering how it worked for you, Hamza and David, and did you do your 10 days?
I'll go first. I'll let David. I was chomping at the bit before when I woke up this morning because I was like, I'm going to interview Cathleen Lamberton today. So the first one was easy.
Yay!
But I will say, yes, one down for sure. The one thing that I did like about the challenge is I was always taught the other end of it. The other end meaning before you go to bed. And so there were times where I couldn't sleep at night. I'm looking at the ceiling forever. And then when I started incorporating something similar to the 10 by 10, just the 10 things I'm grateful for before I go to bed, the first night it was really difficult. And then I found that I couldn't even get to 10 because I had already fallen asleep. And so it was like, wow, this is so good. And then when I had reached out to you and you had issued this other challenge, I was like, challenge accepted, both ends of the spectrum? Why not?
How much better can it be? You begin your day with the things that you're so grateful for, and you end the day with things you're so grateful for. I love to talk about all the things that we forget that we're grateful for, and I'm still going to go back to both of you and see if you actually did the challenge. But I actually took an overnight long trail hike this past summer because that's one of the things that was on my 101 goals to do before I transition on. And because I'm not much of a let's just say I'm not much of a bug and snake kind of gal. So to spend a night on the long trail with no shower, with multiple people I don't know, was really moving beyond my comfort zone. And I did it. And when I got home, I was like, I am so grateful I have a washer. I'm so grateful I have a shower. I'm so grateful I have hot water. I'm so grateful I don't have to carry every single item that I own on my back every single day. We forget how fortunate we really are. And to be able to focus on that before you even get out of bed, kudos to us.
We need to reach out to the guest we had the other day. He does Vision Quest, and you're out by yourself. So since you've done that one hurdle, now you can do it for 10 days.
Well, I'll try 2 nights, but let's gradually work myself into
it. Exactly. And that's what I found.
How did it work for you guys?
I think it worked well for me, kind of just what you had highlighted, in that you did that one day and you build up to it. And so initially, I think most guys do this, but I'll only speak for myself. Guys usually, typically, or I look at the big things, right? And so I'll tell myself again, I've had these conversations with my lady friends, and they're like, what about the small things? It's the small things that matter, you know? And I'm like, no, the big, monstrous show of affection. They're like, no, it's the small things. So it was easy for me to do the 10 because it was like, I'm breathing, my eyes work, my ears work, you know, just those. And then it was like, oh, wow, 10's nothing. Okay, can I add more to that? And then it was about manifestation too, because it was, I was kind of saying tongue-in-cheek about peaking. And what I found as far as my path, when I try to quote-unquote peak, you know, using the tools that I have and that I've acquired, it doesn't manifest, or it doesn't manifest as quickly. And it's because I have too much energy into it. But if I have gratitude from the smaller things, then things will manifest on a grander scale that I could even imagine. Yeah, exactly. And when you go to work, you know, it's a lot of people go to work and they have someone. Ultimately, there's always someone in an office or a larger office that you don't necessarily connect well with. And the first thing they think of, oh, I don't want to see that person, or they're being such a cranky person today. And they just focus on the negative around that. And instead of that, when they're actually doing the gratitude list, I've had a number of people say, my attitude changed completely. When I went into this meeting, I would have gotten really flustered with the feedback that I got or the attack that I was receiving. And this time, I totally shifted from that. I was like, oh, that's not for me. That's for them. I'm okay with that. I'm grateful that they're giving me feedback. It's totally, completely shifted their attitude even at work. David, how about you?
Well, kind of everything that, you know, Hamza was saying. I also have to add that I've been part of, and Hamza is too, part of an Intenders group where we meet every week, and the first part of the meeting is where everyone talks about what they're grateful for. And you can just be few things or a whole list of things. And one of the members there gave us all gratitude journals. So we write in that, and you can do that during the week. So on a daily basis, I that's just part of my life. There's just throughout the course of the day, I'm grateful for so many things. So it wasn't hard to wake up and just do 10 things. It's like, man, I do this all the time. Everywhere I go, I'm grateful for so many things, and I find, especially when I go into like the grocery store, and we have so much selection. It's like, wow, it just never ceases. And I'll mention that to other people. Like I'll be looking at, whatever on the aisle. Someone could be next to me. I go, isn't this just great? We have so much selection. And they'll say the exact same thing. Fantastic. And I'm like, yes. I'm just so grateful to have so many things. It's just endless. It's just never a shortage of things to be grateful for, at least for me. And it brings me a good sense of well-being that when I go through the course of the day, I'm just grateful for everything. So it wasn't hard to do that. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that both you, David, and Hamza are unique, and we're the 1%, so to speak, that are leading the charge. So you get it, and that's why I felt really comfortable in challenging both of you, of saying, I challenge you to do it first thing in the morning, because if you didn't do it, I knew you would appreciate it. And I assumed that you had already done it part of your life anyway, so it would come easily to you. So I think it's just easier to be able to speak to it directly when the person's actually have done it.
Yeah, it sounds like we gave the teacher an apple today, David.
Thank you very much.
It's a great way to set the energy for the day.
Yeah. It changed my world. It helped me considerably. When I really needed it the most, it helped me a lot. And it is the beginning. We have testimonials just through the two of you, but I have a friend that served in the military and was in Iraq and active duty, let's just say several times deployed, was also a first responder here in the States and is retired now. And his brother took his life at 16 and never really dealt with all of the traumas. And on the outside, people in the community would think that he had it all together. He was fine. He was good. But we had several conversations over the last year and a half or so, and I challenged him to start with this gratitude list. And he called me just a week ago, and I could almost get emotional about this because he said, I'm so grateful for you, and sharing that gratitude list with me, because not only did I do the gratitude, he also encouraged me to get some PTSD treatment. I did the treatment, and you've changed my life. Wow. And I don't know how to tell you how grateful I am to you. And it's like, it's not for me, it's for you. And I'm grateful that your world has changed now. You can find that peace and love in your life and feel some joy from within, and there's no words that can explain that kind of gratitude for me. I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. And thanks for doing your service. That is a huge issue for people that put themselves in, above all else for their country, and may not feel like it's being reciprocated when they return. So thankful for you. That's a gratitude for you.
They're also, they want to serve the country, and what happens when they go over there and people do get killed, it is against a lot of their values. It's not really, so they come back in such conflict. They want to defend their country, and they also have done things that are so opposite from their value. There's this internal conflict that they can't resolve, and you can't resolve that with medication or drugs or alcohol or all the other things that we like to mask our problems with in the world. overdoing whatever it is. It could be overeating. It could be over-exercising. It's the obsessive-compulsive reactions. And instead of reacting to life, that he's responding to life now. And it's just beautiful to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to take a quick detour, and then we can get back on track, because you had triggered me for a second. And I wanted to ask you, you had said, how much better can it be? And it triggered me because we've had guests on from different groups that's one of their mantras, how much better can it be? So I didn't know if you had any, are you a part of Access, or do you know about Access?
I don't know about Access or a part of Access, but I have a friend that once I was saying, can you believe this? I can't believe this. And she's like, just say, how much better can it be? And so we had the conversation about our wording is so important. I've done some training with Jack Canfield, which he's a mentor of mine. I absolutely adore the man. And it's all about our wording. It's what we put out in the world. It's who we surround ourselves with. It's what we put in our body, as you all know. And the explanation is when you say, I can't believe this, you're putting the negative out, like I'm not good enough for this. How can that come my way? So you continue to put it in a negative way into the universe. And instead of saying that, it's how much can it be? How much better can it be? It's you're asking for the universe to say, I love this, now give me some more. I just keep it going. So I'm not sure if Access, that's the premise around Access or not, but that's where I'm constantly saying, how much better can it get?
Absolutely. And you did say one other thing, and then we can kind of go back. You said, who does it belong to? I know they say that a lot as well, and sometimes there's these recordings in our head, and you think it's yours, but it may not be. And so when you said that was a trigger as well. Was that through Jack Canfield as well, or just something you had picked up?
No, who does it belong to? That actually is part of my healing. I mean, part of the healing of things that I do is I know from the courses I've taken, I know from just from my channeling, I know that we carry things that are not ours. Through generations, through lifetimes, through decades. And we carry things in this lifetime that's not ours, in addition to our own crap. And so the more that we release the things that aren't ours, the more that we're able to see the light. So from within. So no, that's not from Jack Canfield, but
okay.
He's talking.
Thank you for that. Sure. I'm sure. I think at some point everyone comes across at least some part of his work. I mean, or he's the spiritual Kevin Bacon, that 6 degrees of separation. Right,
exactly. Jack Canfield is just remarkable. He teaches success principles, and when I first went to his One Day to Success, I think, and he described the E+R=O formula. So that's events occur in your life. You have a response or a reaction, and the O is your outcome. How do you want to live your life? And that was my aha moment of, oh my gosh, that's how I live my life. That's how I've tried to live my life since my son took his life 9 years ago. And that is, and it was like that aha moment. It was like, this is it. That's what I've got a formula that I can say how I live my life. And your response or your reaction to whatever occurs in the world is really how you're going to ultimately live your life. And I just went off on a tangent for you. So
Sure. And I wanted to ask you about, because you had mentioned your son, and one of the gratitudes that I thought of you a week ago, because there was so synchronistic the way things happened. It was like in slow motion. So last Sunday, I was watching 60 Minutes, and what is his name? one of the broadcasters. He's the famous broadcaster. He has white hair, and Anderson Cooper. So Anderson Cooper was speaking with this family. There was this family that was a part of a mass shooting several years ago, and I think it was Connecticut. And let's say it was 10 years ago. And what they've been doing since then is they've been going around to every location around the country where they've had these massive shootings, and they've been used as instruments for healing. And so they were just going through the process of, what they go through. And then Anderson Cooper had mentioned that he said, oh, yeah, because I believe his sibling, his brother, had taken his life. And he was like,
his father
so
did.
you guys, his father did?
Anderson Cooper's father, I believe, took his life.
Okay, thank you. So when he said that happened, he said, yeah, I'm now a part of that group, that you didn't want to be a part of, but you are. You have this commonality. And so, that was a trigger for me, and I'm just sitting there in that space. And then it was a commercial, and so I got on my phone, I guess I'll just speak for myself. I won't speak for anyone else. So I got on my phone because it was a commercial. And one of the top Google trend was this rapper, Nipsey Hussle, was shot. And then it was like, who is this guy? What happened? And then you found out he was murdered 30 minutes later. And just the overwhelming feedback of everybody on one wavelength, just highlighting the success, everything that he meant to them. And it felt like we were all on one accord at that moment. And it just gave me such gratitude of someone that you don't even, when you said that about your son, I thought about that with my sister at her funeral. There were so many people that came from all over the country. She was living in Barcelona at the time. So there were people that had come from all over the world, and she had touched them, but she didn't see it.
Right.
So it was like one of those gratitudes. Right. We don't know how much we touch people without even knowing.
It's very, very true. And my condolences to you, because I know it's a challenging road. Even when you invest in your own healing process, there are the what ifs and if onlys. In knowing that you ultimately have no ability to change someone's mind in their life. You can try, but they ultimately have it's on them, meaning it's their responsibility ultimately. And unfortunately, when people are sick, whether it's mental health or drug abuse or whatever it is, whatever the sickness inside, and they're masking it with something, they can't see just how powerful they are in their life. One of the things that I struggled the most with, and my daughter, and their dad actually even, was how could he not know how much he was loved? There was so much of how could you not know? And there was so much shame and blame and just so much guilt. I was a legislator for 8 years. I'd worked for the governor for 7 years. I'd owned businesses with my former husband. And so in my mind, I had this perception in my mind when he took his life was if I could be that successful in all of that, even after what I'd gone through as a child, how could I not save my son's life? How could he not know how much I love him? And it was a real, real struggle. And there was a time that I felt so shattered. I was laying on his grave, and I just wanted to die as well. And it was then that I decided that was when I had the divine message of, you have the voice, you have the power, you have the connections, do something about this. And so I've been committed since. So my response instead of reaction is I didn't die with him. I kept him alive in a very significant, amazing way. And I'm grateful for him.
Yeah, sorry for your loss as well. One thing that kind of gave me solace, and this was kind of my upbringing, and I'll let David chime in, because we had similar. I'll let David talk his part, but anyway, what gave me solace was the fact that we've that book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and so with Dr. Brian Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we have the premise that we may have been here before, then we've done everything, pretty much everything under the sun. We've been different genders, we've been in different marriages, we've been in different orientations, and may have done that act in the past also. So that kind of took away a lot of that personal pain, and just it gave me more of a grounding. And so that's still, like, I think one thing that I found before going to bed, or like you were saying, before you get out of bed, is there may be 10 to start, and it may be like that 3 or 4 that are just a part of all, like, every day, like that's your standard.
Right.
Like, I'm just thankful for, And so I wanted to ask you about, because when we talk about gratitude, most people think of, oh yeah, I'm thankful that I had a windfall. What is your take on gratitudes from contrast, where there's someone, like you're saying, that ER equals O, where it just seems at the time, why am I going through this? Why is this happening? To get to transform that to make it a gratitude.
I think it's huge, and today I have a very different perspective than I did 9 years ago through the growth that I have had in helping other people as well. Today, when someone triggers my reaction versus my response, I actually use it as a mirror, and I do say, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Because there's still something left inside me. I can either determine if that is just a person that I wish them well and I wish them love, they just don't need to be in my life, or I can determine that there's something about this that is triggering me that I need to work on inside for me to resolve whatever that might be. So I am grateful for you for challenging me today. Because I get to look at myself and become a better person. Like, I get to be a better person in this world because they have pushed me a little.
What's your take on the other side of that, of we all talk about soulmates and this person, they complete me and things like that, and just an old Esther Abraham lecture, they were talking about the person that really gets under your skin. That's your spirit equal, because they're the ones that no one else will bring that out of you. And then when you transcend, and you both transcend, you both give each other high fives. But on earthly plane, you want to pull each other's hair out.
Well, I would think they call those the twin flames. And people think that, if they're my twin flame, then it's all blissful and it's beautiful and it's great. And I don't think that's the case, whether it's twin flames or your soulmate or whatever people want to call. They're different types, I believe. But I also believe that people are in our world for a reason. And if, in fact, you transcend and transform together, then it can be an amazing partnership that as you're transcending, you're willing to grow and just, I can see it like a flower blooming, like I can just see like or a butterfly, like you're figuring out your partnership, and there's some rough times. And then all of a sudden it just clicks, and then you're like, this is great, this is wonderful. And it doesn't mean that it's perfect always. However, when you are meant to be with someone because they are meant to challenge you, you're meant to challenge them, and only one decides to go in the direction of growth and the other one stays in the comfort zone of what they know, it's time to make choices to wish someone well and move on. I've had a few of those myself. I didn't always end it well, but my last one, I ended it exactly the way it should have been. It's like, I really wish you well. I send you off with love, and it's just time for me to move in a different direction. It's just not working for me any longer because we grew in a different direction, and it's okay. It's part of our life.
So is there, I'm sorry, I'm taking over, and I know David wants to tell you, chomping at the bit there. Go ahead, David.
No, it's really good. I was just going to ask Kathleen, when when did you realize that you were, psychic and had, healing abilities and wanted to start using them? Was it like growing up, did you always know that you were psychic and had abilities, or was it something that kind of maybe started after the passing of your son? Is what kind of thrusted you in that direction, or?
Mm-hmm. So throughout most of my life, I didn't realize it, David, until after my son transitioned, and maybe just before he transitioned. There was I was interested always in mediums and tarot cards, and when I was a very young girl, my birth father, shot at us as a child. He was an abusive alcoholic. He literally shot at us through a bathroom door. And that was just one of many events that occurred in our lifetime. So it was not a fun environment to live in as a very young child. And I remember at one point just thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. As a 3- and 4-year-old girl, I remember thinking there's more to life than this. Like, I know there is. There was a knowing. And I also, for whatever reason, I knew, and I believe today, that my angels protected me, like pulled me back. But for whatever reason, I chose to retreat from the dysfunction. And while I wasn't physically being abused on the most part, I emotionally took that in, which shaped a lot of my life and choices for several years from that point. And ultimately, my mom did leave my birth father and married a wonderful man who adopted me when I was in 9th grade. So I've had some fortunate there. I went off again, but to set the stage is like throughout most of my life there was a knowing, like I just knew. And my friends tell me today that they've come to me for years because I just had a knowing, and there was an ability to have that conversation, and things that came easily to me, I just thought everybody had. Yeah. And it's not the case at all. Like it just, I will just get something and I'll just blurt it out. And for years, I just would blurt it out because that's what I thought everyone did. And it was not the case. And so over the last 9 years is when I really started to develop my comfort zone in that, and my belief in the fact that I actually did have the ability to see, feel, and hear. And, after my son transitioned, there were several messages from him that I continue to get today. And he would do it with my friends, so I wouldn't be alone. So I would start to realize that I did have that ability. Yeah, and so the last 2 years is really when I've jumped completely in, David, because I also transitioned out of a marriage. I completed a marriage that didn't understand the metaphysical world and didn't agree with it. And I just knew when my son transitioned, I knew that every day of my life was going to matter from that point forward, that you never know what is going to occur in your life. You never know what's going to be taken from you at any moment of your life. And I swore from that point forward I would never take anything for granted again.
Well said.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about, a takeaway in our last podcast, we were talking about Margaret Mead, and Margaret is known for saying that you have 3 marriages in your life. It could be with 3 different people, or it can be 3 different phases with one person. So what's your take on that?
Well, I've hit my 3. So I hope there's more than that.
Right. See, like 3 is the basics, guys.
my take is that you will continue to repeat the pattern until you change your pattern.
Yes.
And my response to that is more so of a learned behavior of not honoring yourself, not honoring your intuition will continue to occur in your life until you do. And so you're going to get hit over the head at some point. And unless you start to take those gentle nudges, you're eventually going to get pushed, and then you're going to get hit, and then you're going to fall off the cliff because eventually you're going to have to learn. And it may be in this lifetime, and it may be in another lifetime. So I don't know. I hope she's wrong with the 3, but, you never know.
I had to ask you because when I talk or speak with other, let's say, fellow people walking on this path, right? We have other tools, or let's say we have extra tools, and so maybe we don't let things happen naturally, if you will, whereas we're already seeing things probably before they come to fruition. And so is that a blessing or a curse? Because you said 9 years ago that's when you really turned on, but if you can kind of look back at your other relationships, where you could probably see those patterns as they were developing.
Yeah, I think all the way through, I think my life lesson has been to really listen to my intuition and stop pushing it away, and stop not believing myself. Like the inner knowledge that I could tell you story after story after story of like, oh no, it's okay, I can handle that. That's all right. That's really not what's going to happen. And sure enough, it happens, and it's twice as bad because I just ignored my intuition and just like I didn't listen. And I think the key for all of us is to listen to ourselves. People don't need me to tell them what's occurring in their life if they actually listen to themselves. If they actually, and I think that is my job, is like what I do in my healing world is like I get to be the light that shines onto them so where they can find their own internal light. I get to be the funnel so where I get to shine and remove some of those limiting beliefs and some of those blocks so where they can start to see their own light inside. And so the more light that's turned on inside, the more space is created so there can be more light. And then as the light shines in those little crevices and behind that wall, there's still things to work on, but they're less harsh and they're less frequent, and you see it much quicker. So you can work on it, release it, and move through it. And I get to do that now because of my life experiences where I can trust that that's what's happening. Yeah.
Going back to your 10 by 10 challenge, some like you had the example of someone as soon as they get out of bed, they're thinking of all the things that they need to do, and it's just so noisy that they can't really that quiet noise. Like I found for me personally, the intuition is very silent. It's very quiet. It's very subtle. And so, were you able to find throughout life up to this point that the more you let in that subtlety, or the more you let in that quiet space, that loud noise or sometimes that monkey mind slowly went away?
Yes, that is the case. I have a daily practice, and that's what I teach in my coaching is some of the daily practices. And for me, my daily practice is my gratitude list, and I write my affirmations, I do my visualization, I do a meditation, and then I work out. And sometimes I don't work out every day because I think your body needs that rest. But I do go for a walk on a path or just being in nature. So I teach people how to take care of themselves in a healthy way that really doesn't cost them anything on a day-to-day basis if they really want to invest in themselves. And it's about stepping into the fear. We become programmed into what we know. More than 90% of the people in the world are living in anger and blame and shame and hate and in sadness. Look how many people are on drugs now. Prescribed drugs, say nothing about the illegal drugs. We have more than 800,000 people worldwide taking their lives on an annual basis. And 25 attempts to every suicide. So that's more than 20 million attempts throughout a year worldwide of people wanting to take their lives. We are living in extreme sadness only because we're programmed for that. We don't see any way out, and it's fearful to be uncomfortable. Jack Canfield says this, and I say it now, it's becoming comfortable in the uncomfortable is how you're going to grow. And just dip your toe into a change and become familiar with that over 60 days or 90 days. And then dip it in a little further. It's just taking those little steps. You don't have to do it all at once. But as you take those steps, you become stronger, you become more in tune with your body, you become more enlightened personally, you become more like, oh, maybe I won't react to that today. Maybe I'll just sit on that for a moment. Whether it's a day or 5 minutes. You become comfortable with saying, thank you for that invite, but I think I'm going to think about it for a bit, and I'll let you know tomorrow. You don't have to say yes or no right off. And we've been programmed to think that we have to respond quickly. Technology is wonderful, but it's also a demise, I believe, because kids today believe that instant response is absolutely the way to go. It's the only way. That if you don't get a response instantly, someone's mad at you. There's no communication. There's no one-on-one communication. It's all through text. I mean, even a phone call is not even liked anymore.
Well, this is in your favor. So you've gone past the 3, right? And so one argument for I said that in there. No, Kathleen, I'm trying to be serious here. I'm trying to be serious. This is a serious podcast. You're ruining it.
I can laugh at myself. One mistake is, okay, you can go over it. 2 is, well, my bad. 3 is like, oh, my gosh, what is wrong with you? It's time to really change your pattern here.
Oh, not at all. I'm thinking, hey, shout out to Elizabeth Taylor and people like her, man. 3's just getting started.
No, I would like to think that I would choose differently today than what I have in the past. Not because these people were bad people, just because they weren't right for me. And right. I don't take any of those people. I think every event in my life has made me the person I am today, and I can say I like who I am today. So I don't regret any of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where I wanted to ask you about this is a technology question for you. So you were saying like the difference between the youth, they need immediate feedback. And so there is some conversation or a school of thought that once upon a time, if you will, you both went to work and then you didn't talk to each other until you got home from work. So you were able to miss the person versus on technology, you talk to that person 5 or 6 times a day. You're not giving that person enough time to miss you and you miss them. And you're constantly on top of each other. So that relationship that used to take 60 years is over in 10 because you're like, did I say that joke already? Yeah, you did already. Yeah.
I've had enough of you. See you later.
Yeah, I've seen that meme before. Goodbye. Yes. Oh, my God.
When we thought marriage was the end all, and it's not that way anymore.
No, that's funny. That is hilarious. Now you sound like a guy a little bit because guys are like, well, I lived half my life. Now I might as well get married.
Well, I'm in the middle-age range, and I'd like to think that there's more life left to me. So I just think that the life has changed a lot, even in the last 10 years, say nothing about the last 50 years. And I think growing with the times, and I just think it's about listening to yourself. You know in your gut. Close your eyes and when someone asks you out, what does your gut say? You'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel it in your stomach. You'll feel it in your head. You'll feel it somewhere in your body, whether you want to do that or you don't. And are you going to have the courage to say yes or no? What is your courage? Where are you going to stand up for you, or are you going to do something that you really don't want to do because you don't want to hurt someone else, and ultimately you end up hurting more people?
Mm-hmm. So I want to play that game. I want to stay in this vein for a little bit. So if, let's say, because I've seen it, I can't even make the generalization because I've seen it with both sexes, right? So if I let's say I married young, and then I'm still, let's say, I don't know, 40, right? But like you said, we live longer. And so some of those people just kind of write off life. They don't date anymore. So if you said, what's your first thought? It may be that monkey mind that my last relationship didn't work, and I'm trying to find gratitude in that, but I don't want to bring that to this new relationship. How would they approach it?
Well, the first thing I would approach is I have, let me confess here, I haven't dated in almost 2 years, so I'll be the first one to confess that I might be holding back a bit here. But what I would say, it's not that I'm holding back, is that I'm getting to know who I am and what's really important to me. Yeah, so I would really, really encourage, and I think that I'm there now. I'm not like, this is not a dating website. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just I finally know who I am and what's going to work for me, and I feel strong enough so where if I go on a date and it doesn't seem to work for me, the first day I can say, I really enjoyed tonight, but I don't think that this is going to work for me. I wish you well. And walk away. It doesn't have to be long-term the first time you go out with him. Or you can decide, well, there's a little bit about him that I like. Let's see if another date would work.
Yeah.
I think we're too quick to jump in because that's what society says that we should be doing. Just like society says we shouldn't get divorced 3 times. Like I get it, that I might be unique in many ways, but I feel for the first time that I know who I am, and it's okay to wait. It's okay to not date initially, but don't give up on it. We are creatures that strive and desire companionship. That's what we are. And so for those who give up, they're giving up their life at 40 years old or 50 years old or whatever age they choose to give. They're giving up some fun and joy and peace and just like being able to walk on water. That's how I feel right now. Like in my life, I feel like I am finally at a place where I'm living my life of my dream. Now, there are additional things that are on my affirmations and visualizations that I want in my life, but I don't need them to be happy today in this moment because I know they're coming.
Absolutely.
Okay, Kathleen, let me ask you, you have a number of different modalities that you worked and trained with, and it sounds like I'm sure you enjoyed all of them. Do you have a particular one that you favor or you're really a favorite of?
There's 2 that I really love. One is called Regenerating Images Through Memory. It is a client-driven healing modality that actually goes into it's a little bit of a mix between the Akashic Records reading, past life regression, to today and then future driven. So it heals the client. It's client driven. So the client actually participates in this deep dive into your body to remove old beliefs and reshape new beliefs and create a new future for themselves. So I become the facilitator in that. So they're actively engaged in that. So I love that. And that's what I did in Colorado about a month ago. My second stint on that. And I absolutely just love when I get to feel the energy flow through my body and the client that's either sitting in front of me or in another country is is feeling that shift in their body, and I'm sharing with them what I either feel, see, or hear. I get to share that with them. And the amazement in their voice, the shift in their body, the excitement that they have because they've been able to release something through an energetic exchange is just tremendous to me. To know that I get to help other people feel better. I mean, I want to help people feel better. I want them to know that they can transform their own lives. I can assist them in doing that. I can assist them in doing that through keynote speaking, or through coaching, or through webinars. Whatever I do, I get to help shift them. And my book is coming out in September. I'm really excited about that. It's called Shattered Together. So it's a memoir of what my life has been like when I was shattered when my son took his life. And, he was a significant part of putting me together as one with the universe, so including him. So I feel like he's really my partner in this process.
Absolutely.
Or the 10 by 10 challenge. Whatever.
Course.
I don't even have to be a part of it.
Of course. I wanted to ask you about when you were talking about the different readings that you were doing. It made me think of when I first started, and we did what was called line readings, and that would be a reading with 3 or more people towards one person. And one thing that was really interesting was it didn't matter what day of the week that we read the people that came in, but it felt like there was some aspect of what we were going through as a line. And I wanted to know if you were able to see that in some of your interactions with your clients, that there may have been something where you both are learning. You're obviously giving a gift to them, but they're also giving a gift to you unbeknownst to them.
Oh, absolutely. One of the first readings that it was like a test. I did this in a class, a course that I took, and one of the first readings was my body internally started to burn up, and I was like, was there a fire? It doesn't feel like a fire. It feels like did they go through cancer treatment? And they're like, oh my gosh, they went through cancer. They had cancer and they went through cancer treatment. So what they taught me is that within my body, I have certain mechanisms. Everybody reads a little differently. And for me, if my body is heating up internally, it is a sign that they've been through treatment that has, literally burned up some of their, created heat within their body.
Yeah.
If that's what you're talking about, then
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes. And they're teaching me. They continue to teach me. Every client that I have, there's an interaction. So where this is what I'm sensing, this is what I'm feeling. Can you share with me whether you feel that's right or not? So yeah,
that's awesome.
They're a great teacher for me. And each one of them, my greatest teacher thus far has been a dog.
Really?
Because yeah. The dog is what actually made me comfortable enough to say that I'm a healer. And do we have time to talk about this? Is this something I can share with you?
Absolutely, go for it.
I think it's so cool, so cool. So I had a friend out in California who adopted a dog that was a rescue dog. And the dog had a habit of nipping at people. So the dog had already nipped at everybody in the family and was just a biter, and they were trying to do their best to keep him from biting, but he kept biting, and he ultimately bit their housekeeper so badly on the face that he had to go get stitches. And she's crying to me because her husband is now at the place that we can't let this happen. He's going to have to go back. And she's like, he can't go back, and there's all this turmoil going on. And I said, well, if you want, then I'd be happy to try to do some healing with him, and no guarantees, but I can try to work with him. So I tune into him that night, and she said, absolutely, whatever you can. So I tune into him, and I tune into the fact that he was a homeless dog, that his heart was literally black, his nervous system was all plugged. I was able to clear his heart so where, it was beating red, and his nervous system was cleared, and it took more than one time for me to do that. Mm-hmm. And I shared that with her, and she's like, oh, my gosh, he's like a different dog. Like, he just laid right down, and he was fine. And so she went back to the rescue shelter and said, do you know much about the dog? And anyways, everything that I shared with her was confirmed that was true. And the dog hasn't bit anybody since. So,
nice.
Yeah, so a dog gave me the confidence to be able to say that I'm a healer, because the dog's not telling me anything. I just know that he's not biting anybody, so now I know that I get to be, and I say I'm a healer. It's really I get to be the channel, so I can help heal others.
That was my next question, because I didn't know if you gave the dog the 10 by 10 challenge or not.
We did our own little challenge together, a little energetic exchange. Be grateful that you get to stay with this family.
That's right.
That's funny.
Well, one of my I have a future 10 by 10, and one of them is that you'll reach back out to us for that Shatter Together when that comes out.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Before that comes out, if you can let everybody know how they can get in touch with you for your readings or your coaching and all the other modalities you have to offer.
Great. So my website is a perfect location. I am in the middle of upgrading and launching a new website, so most of it is up and ready to go, and it's CathleenL.com, and it's with a C, so CathleenL.com. And there you'll see all of the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, Instagram. You can get a hold of me in any of those ways. And my phone number is on there, and all of my services. And I'm launching some new services, some new webinars, a new program called Becoming Your Own Gladiator, and putting your sword and your shield down, and it's not us against them any longer. It is us working internally so we become one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you have just been in tune to another episode of Intrinsic Motivation from a Homie's Perspective. This is Hamza.
And I am David.
I don't know where the hour's gone. I don't know if I should be grateful or not. It should be a lot longer, but it was a pleasure speaking with you, Kathleen.
It was a pleasure to speak with both of you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you and your audience again.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for
Cheers.
Cheers.
Alrighty. Bye now.